Hey, Nacho Nation, this is Paul, Dr. Nacho. We are at our new location. We just moved in yesterday, Dental Nachos headquarters. Anybody's keeping track at home, it's at 1500 Walnut on the 15th floor, Philadelphia, PA, because Kate, my office manager and friend, sent us a gift today. So hint, if anybody wants to send us food to welcome us to our new Dental Nachos headquarters, we will gladly take free food. I'm a dentist at heart and I love free things, and my team, they really love snacks. On Talking Nachos, we have an awesome lineup today. This entire show is designed to help you increase your success, decrease stress, and reduce the number of times you feel like crying inside a day. We're going to share awesome resources, ways to improve what you do, make yourself happier. But even more important than being happier is being less annoyed. So I'm ready for our first guest today. Ariel can bring our first guest up. We're going to learn what people do. We have the awesome Jay from Sunbit, awesome sponsor of our group. So Jay, all these great companies out there, me included, have different names: Dental Nachos, Blue Steel, like from Zoolander. Just orient us. What does Sunbit do in their daily life to help dentists?
Sure. What we do is we provide a buy now, pay later technology that allows patients to get the dentistry they need today and then pay over time. And we do it in a very easy 30-second process. We approve, the technology approves in dentistry about 85% of patients, which is about double the average. So we just make it easier for dentists to get the ideal patient outcomes that they're looking for, and at the same time generate incremental production for the office.
That's awesome, man. We just did a webinar last night about dental implants, and a lot of the questions were, how do you deal with financial objections? And when people see a sticker price, whether it's a car, a house, dental implants, they think, I can't possibly pay all that now. I don't have that in my bank account. I don't have that in my debit account. Let's say I have a $5,000 plan, a dental implant treatment plan for my office. Paul's the patient, I'll be the patient. What does your team do to get Sunbit? How do you get approved? What do you do next? How much does the office pay? Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure, no problem. So basically what happened, and what you're describing is exactly the process in which Sunbit works. So the patient does a comprehensive oral exam. The doctor says, hey, it's $5,000. Here's the 5 or 6 different procedures that need to get done. How would you like to pay? And there's about a 5-second amount of panic, right? Because it's a lot of money. Most people don't have that money out there. And so what they end up doing is they end up basically kind of like at a fancy French restaurant doing the a la carte. I'm going to have the salad and I'm going to kind of skip the main meal, which is not good for anyone. So what we do is we provide an iPad, basically the backbone technology, which enables these patients to get approved for financing. So the technology gives them a maximum approval amount, and then they're able to get that dentistry, that $5,000 that they didn't think that they could do all today or over the next several days or weeks. They can actually get that done and then pay it over 6, 12, 18, 24 months.
And then you guys act as the bank, not the dental office. The dental office gets paid right away. Am I accurate with that?
Exactly. The dental office gets paid in full within 48 hours. And then we take the risk of non-payment from the patient. So it's a win for everyone. The cash flow for the office, the patient gets the dentistry they need, and the doctor generally is doing a lot more work than they normally would, because the patient looks at it as really kind of a monthly expenditure rather than, oh my God, it's $5,000. Instead, it's $220 a month.
And that's a good way to put it. It's a digestible amount, to use a Nacho phrase, digestible monthly. Now, dentists, my people, Jay, they like to know how things work. Like if they were at a restaurant, we'll call it Vetri, one of the best restaurants on earth near where I live, they would like to walk back to the kitchen and ask Mark Vetri how he cooks the pasta and maybe give him some advice along the way. Are you sure that much salt, Mark? So our dentist people, they need to know details, okay? So on a $5,000 treatment plan, what's the range in reduction the office pays? 5 to 15, 6 to 20, just so we can understand. You have a $5,000 treatment plan, you're going to get $4,800. I know it's based, you can tell us what it's based on, but tell us a little more about that.
Sure, no problem. So basically we have, we separate the pricing into 2 buckets, which is prime and subprime. So keep in mind, there's really 2 types of financing that's currently out there. There's basically the prime patients, which is generally about 30 or 40% of the population. Gotcha. And then there's the folks that are subprime, good people, but for whatever reason, had some trouble in the past. And those are the folks that are continually getting declined, not just in dentistry, but everywhere else. So we approve both. we're approving, everyday folks, and the rates are going to be different for prime versus subprime. So for prime, as an example, I can't give out the exact rates because it's a little bit different, but for prime, our rates are actually lower than the leading patient financing provider out there for dentistry today. So it's very, very competitive. And again, we're going to generally, our technology going to double the approval rates. Do you pay a little bit more for the folks that normally would get declined elsewhere? You absolutely do. But keep in mind, Sunbit and our technology, we are taking the risk, and the office is getting those funds upfront immediately. So it's basically, we always like to say is, yes, obviously cost is important. It's very important.
Yeah.
But what you need to be focused on is production. How many people are walking out the door without getting the treatment they need? And more importantly, how many people are not even offered financing in the first place?
Right.
Which, based on our research, is about 80% of people.
Well, what I also want to point out, which I think would be good for your team to share with dentists, is let's just say that we are financing someone that doesn't have any dental insurance and is coming and paying out of pocket. A dental insurance in-network plan could reduce a dentist fee by 20 to sometimes 40%. So what I'm trying to share with my audience, from someone who's been a dental practice owner for 16 years, is we have all kinds of adjustments to our fees for a variety of reasons. Even a simple credit card processing is 2 to 3% adjustment to our fees. Sure. So I think focusing on, I've been around this game for a while. So let's just say we use financing companies, and there might be a 6 to 16% reduction in the fee. That still can be much better than one of your spoiled guac PPO plans that we do. So I think what you pointed out is important, that focus on the production that you're able to do to keep your office going. Now, tell me this, Jay. People can reach out to you, text Sunbit to 215-543-6454, learn more about how to use your office. What's the range of treatment plans that you guys finance the most? Like $1 to $5,000, $2,000 to $10,000? What do you guys finance the most?
Sure. Our max approval is $10,000.
Gotcha.
The average treatment plan that we deal with is about $2,000 to $2,500.
And I think what's important, and I'll share authentically from me, when this came about maybe a decade ago, when I started utilizing financing, I thought of it only for big cases, only for $20,000, only for $30,000. And I unfairly didn't really give those patients the most flexible opportunities. So now I think it's really important that $2,000 to $5,000 treatment plans make up a lot of what we do. And having another avenue like Sunbit to look into is so important. Tell us, Jay, before we wrap up.
Sure.
I'm a dental office. I want to work with Sunbit. Walk me through the process. What happens? Do I do a demo? What's the next step? I'm a big JDD, just do the demo type of person. So what's the next step?
Sure. So it depends what size of office you are. We have inside sales team. We also have a field size sales team for offices 2 locations or greater. So it's going to depend on where you're at in terms of the size. It's generally a very quick process. We would meet with you or do a demo with you. Again, if you're single unit versus multi-unit, we typically would meet with you in person, do a quick presentation, and then get you started. Then sign, DocuSign the basic stuff. And then within a couple of weeks, we get you launched. We come out physically and do a launch. It's very important for us to spend the time and the effort to get you acclimated, get you comfortable. Because at the end of the day, we want you to use the product, because it doesn't do any good if nobody's using the product. We're not
for sure. That's also been one of the weaknesses and challenges of financing in general, is that, and I've been someone who's done it, where I've gotten signed up with a company, I've done this, and we just didn't really put it into place, and that doesn't help anyone. So I really think it's great that you do that. You should bring people nachos. When you get a nacho office, you should show up with nachos there.
I'll tell you what, I'll bring the nachos, you bring the guacamole.
Awesome, Jay. So while we have your sponsored text code, text Sunbit to 215-543-6454. If people wanted to reach out to you directly, or you're just your evergreen website, what would that be?
Sure. You can reach out to my email. I manage our dental practice nationwide. It's jay@sunbit.com. That's sunbit.com. Or you can go to our website, sunbit.com/dental. You can request a demo. We'll get back in contact you very quickly. We're very responsive, so we're happy to hear from your audience.
Awesome, Dave. Really appreciate you being a friend and sponsor to what we do. You're helping people move forward with dental care, which is so important.
Great. Thank you, Paul. Really appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Okay.
So right off the bat there, we're talking about money, something they don't talk about in dental school. They charge a lot of money. Don't know why they don't talk about it for dentists, but it's a key part to keeping our practices running, especially in private practice. So I encourage you to find out more, have these conversations, reach out to Sunbit. I'm ready for our next guest, Ariel, when you're ready. So now we go from money to materials. So Tom Moore, I like your backdrop there. I got a backdrop here for myself. Tell us what Kettenbach does in their daily dental life to help dentists.
Well, the second thing I like, other than nachos, is M&Ms. So
yes, I like those too.
Money and materials. So there you go.
Yeah.
I work for this fantastic German company. They've been in business for 75 years. And so what do? We make polyvinyl materials. We make restorative materials, temp material. And what makes us different? Well, there's a lot of suppliers out there, right, of impression materials and restorative materials. But there's only a couple, in fact, less than a handful of true manufacturers. So the product that your Dental Nacho members and followers would get is directly from us, the manufacturer.
Awesome.
So what does that do for you? You get the innovation of over 48, I believe, is the now running number of international patents. And as an extra topping on the nachos, you get it direct from us.
Awesome.
We ship you direct from our warehouse. You deal directly with us, no middleman. You're going to save 35 to 50% every day. And as you know, being part of your buying group, you get a little extra on top, a little guac, a little extra jalapeno.
I like that, Tom. We'll move from materials to money for a second, because what you and Dan have done has made one of my dreams come true, not dunking a basketball. I don't know if that's going to come true, but I have my own buying group. So what I think is awesome, and this is just an important point, if we ever pull something like this out of the video nacho teams, dentists want to get some of the advantages of what large groups get. Sometimes that's called DSOs. It could be groups like my brother and I. But being part of Dental Nachos, you get to leverage the power of the Nachoverse. And if you text buying to 215-543-6454, you'll get the lowest price possible on Silginot, one of my favorite materials, Algin Alternatives, their VPS line, which we've used as well. And what are some of the other materials that we might not know about Kettenbach that are popular that people use? I know you have a core material, Semcore. What are some other materials?
We do. And then let me mention the Semcore and core kind of together. So if a doctor wants cementation and a core buildup, never has those two been put together until now. Yes, the innovators, the German innovators at Kettenbach put those two together. So with a tooth primer and a restorative primer, along with the syringe of the core buildup, you can do any cementation to anything, even maybe glue me to the back wall back here.
I like that.
and core buildup. If you just want a core buildup and you're not interested in doing the cementation part, we provide that separately as well, and you can use any bonding adhesive that you want to use. And these are, again, at Dental Nacho pricing, they can't be beat. They're going to save you so much money.
I mean, one of the things I'll share with you is, Thomas, thanks, is there's so many things to keep track of in a dental office that the fewer things. So if you just have Semcore and know it does 2 or 3 different jobs, that's so valuable instead of 19 bottles. So I love the energy that you bring to what we do. Kettenbach has been a core chip sponsor. I always say that Silginot and Algin Alternative is the gateway decision to better dentisting decisions. I know there's scanners. I know people do that, but Silginot is still a huge part of what we do daily, taking impressions for night guards, taking impressions for bleaching trays, counter models. So Tom, thanks so much. Really appreciate you being on with us again. Enjoy the rest of the show.
I love what you do, and keep doing it and putting these on the dental spaces. Yeah,
I will. Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it. Awesome. So we've learned about money. We've learned about materials. And now we're going to bring up our next guest to the Talking Nachos show here. So I am a JBN guy, just be nice. I am a positive guy. I like to think about the good things in life, but it's important to guard against problems, disasters, challenges. Knowing just one thing before you get into a situation you can't undo is so important. So my awesome friend, Jim Kashmar from Doctors Disability Specialist, awesome friend and sponsor. Jim, just orient our audience as to what you do in your daily life to help protect dentists. We might have you might be politely muted there, Jim. Sorry. It's polite of you. We appreciate it. It's polite to come in muted to a.
All right. My wife would like that button on me.
Yeah. Same with Mrs. Nacho.
Hi, Paul. So what do? When I'm not in Foxwoods at a conference, I'm helping dentists and dental students with disability insurance, protecting their number one asset, their income.
Yeah. And what I want to share is, which is so key, we get told stories behind the scenes that people don't always want to share. But a recent one, this amazing young dentist has shared, is she did not get disability insurance prior to leaving her residency. She's become disabled and now does not have income. So Jim, do you see scary stories like that more often than you would like?
All the time. We are constantly, we meet with 10, 12 dental students or dentists or practice owners on a daily basis between me and Tyler and our whole team. And we daily have to give somebody some kind of not so great news that unfortunately we'd love to insure them, but we just can't because this happened in the past for them.
So I always say to my patients, Jim, that dental care is never less expensive, less time, or less pain than it is now. It sounds like that goes the same for your physical and mental self. So there's real value to getting insured as early as possible. If you could give a treatment plan for this, when would you tell someone to reach out to you to find out about that first disability policy?
Right now, at this moment, do your texting or whatever, however we connect.
Well, we have text DDS at 215-543-6454. Is the D4s the most common group you're connecting with before they're about to blast off into the real world?
Yes, by all means. As they rise from D3s to D4s, the really fastidious ones will meet with us now-ish. We've already put a couple of policies in place for some of the D4s in, around the country, and then just continue on through graduation and beyond.
And now I'll use an example. You and I are good friends. If I went and got my wedding suit out after the pandemic, I probably would not fit into it. I mean by probably, I definitely wouldn't fit into it. It doesn't mean that I am in terrible shape, and it doesn't mean I have a bad body image, but it just means that that wedding suit does not fit me. Tell us a little more about dentists as they go through this career. Their disability policy doesn't fit them anymore. And what happens with that? So it's not just about D3s. Tell me about the D13, 11 years out of school, who's still using some policy from the olden days, and they might need to use it. And they say, oh, geez, my light income is nowhere near what it was, is so much more before. Tell us a little bit about getting your policy reviewed by you guys.
I love the analogy, and it really sings true to the situation. So treatment planning for us is when they first graduate, we start with little baby policy, maybe $2,000, maybe $4,000, maybe more. And then over time, if we're meeting with them on a regular basis, we're growing it to be more in line with what they're actually earning. If we never knew you in the first place and you're now, a 35, 40-year-old dentist, we're happy to review what you have. And if it's still that same, suit you wore to your wedding, we can help let it out and make sure it fits.
And make sure it accommodates your lifestyle, because if one of the things, and we've talked so many times in Tyler, disability isn't often forever, right? A lot of times it's for a 6 to 9 month time frame. But if the dentist is not making income, they might have a mortgage, might have 2 kids in private school. Have you dealt with those scenarios where someone says, man, I wish I'd reached out to Jim and Tyler when I was early in my practice career because I did not plan for this and now I have a problem?
Absolutely. And one more little example I'll give you is we worked with someone recently who we represent several companies. And some companies, it's like Animal Farm. Some companies are more equal than others. So really knowing what your language says, or having someone like me and Tyler to help you understand what your language says, or maybe not totally understand your language, but knowing that we do, then we can make sure that those plans will actually pay out when you go to make that claim.
Yeah, and you guys do this for really at no cost. I mean, you will talk to someone and take a look at their policy. And this is where, we have someone coming up next that helps with student debt. Everyone should do this, because the exercise of saying, hey, Jim and Tyler, is this good? Only good happens. You might say, this is a good policy. We can't do better. Keep it. But even better, you might say, you are woefully underinsured. You might not get paid for 6 months. This company might be notorious for having a problem. So I think this is the real thing I want to bring to life on this Talking Nachos. We've talked so much about the D3s, Jim, but not enough about the D13s and D16s and D23s. So you can text DDS to 215-543-6454. We'll connect them with you as awesome sponsors. And you can review a policy and tell them what's good or if the guac is spoiled or not.
We're happy to, and the price of free is good. I agree.
Yeah, right. I know. This is our people. They love the free, Jim. Well, I want to let you get back to your conference. Thanks for being such an awesome sponsor, supporter, and friend. Love what you do. What conference are you out at? What conference is this one that you're at?
So this is internal to the insurance world, but I'll be seeing you in a week or so in Miami. I'm looking forward.
Yeah, we're looking at that. This is going to be a real party. Can't wait. We're bringing the moderators, and they're going to stay with you for one of the nights. It's a surprise right now on Talking Nachos. No charge. Awesome, Jim. Have a great rest of the day.
Thanks, Paul. Take care.
So we've talked about money, we've talked about materials, talked about protecting your biggest asset, you. And now we're going to move back to something that is the D word that all dentists think about, and that's debt. Debt, student debt, practice debt, real estate debt, car debt. But dental school debt, student loan planner, to me, is just doing the work of the Lord G.V. Black in helping dentists and their families learn about paying off debt. I'm so thrilled to meet the awesome Lauren. Lauren, tell us, what does Student Loan Planner do, and what do you do at the company in your daily helping dentist life?
Well, at Student Loan Planner, we help you get a customized plan for your student loans in just 60 minutes so that you walk away with clarity, and we provide email support for 6 months afterwards so that you're not left out there hanging in the wind.
I love that. One of my awesome friends, Dr. Miles, and his wife's a dentist, and he's just been part of our Nacho group for a long time, says that what you guys do is one of the best toppings I have. It's helped him the most because this debt looming over dental students' head and young dentist's head can be emotionally challenging. But I've learned from Travis and you guys, give us a few points maybe. You know, I'm a dentist with $500,000 in debt. You know, I'm 3 years out of school. I'm an associate. Should I pay off as much debt as possible, or are there other avenues that you guys coach people to figure out what makes sense for them?
The answer is always, it depends. And that's why a customized plan is super duper important. Yeah. So as you think about it, you know, are we going into private practice? A lot of dentists like to come out and say, I'm going to work 2 years here and then I'm going to get a private practice. Some have big dreams, big goals, and they try to go into private practice immediately. And they think they're going to make, you know, $500,000 right out of the gate. Right. One of the things that's really cool about us is, having worked with so many dentists, we have a good kind of purview into what it looks like to earn and, you know, what a good trajectory is, so we can forecast out what is the best plan for you.
And what I found, I've learned so much from Travis and your team. I mean, you know, I'm a dental practice broker, and I just spoke with a dentist the other day who said she was making over $200,000 as an associate, but she hadn't saved any money. And I said, where's all your money? And guess what? She said, I'm just paying my debt down. I said, this is a real problem, because if you go to buy a practice, you need liquidity for the practice purchase. And there are, I know they have, I'm a big acronym guy, Lauren, with JBN and TSD. These aren't his favorite. I pay, repay. I like you pay. Can you pay my loans? But I pay, but maybe just provide a little context for, you know, if there's a dentist watching in who went to dental school when I was born in 1977, and dental school pricing was so much lower. And now they say, how do these students pay off $600,000? Are there ways to make that doable almost for anyone?
Yes. In fact, there are. So they're what we call income-driven repayment plans. And the most popular one, if you're recently coming out of school, is going to be pay as you earn. This is going to allow you to pay over a period of 20 years. And whatever's left over at the end of that 20-year period is going to be forgiven. The key is that there's going to be a tax liability. So you also need to be able to do the calculation for that. Right. But what's really cool about it is that it's going to give you an affordable monthly payment based on your income. You can set some aside for the tax liability, and you can still save for that house. You can still save for retirement. In fact, saving for retirement is going to lower your tax liability and lower your student loan payment.
And I think what you guys do is, you're like those personal trainers who tell me I should eat more fats. I'm like, thank you. I appreciate it, right? You think, you know, sometimes you're too restrictive with calories. It's not the best way for your body. You need a nutritionist to come in and tell you what to do. I mean, you guys, my dental audience is going to be mad at me, Lauren, but I think you guys should literally triple your prices tomorrow and just charge triple, because what you do is too good. So let's just focus on this consult before we wrap up. Someone text loans at 215-543-6454. You're a great key resource and sponsor. What's going to happen? If I can inspire someone who's a D4, a new dentist, a medium-aged dentist who's saying, you know what, I just kind of pay my loans how I feel, I heard the Nacho guy and Lauren saying there's better ways. They text in what's going to happen with this consult.
Yeah, so you're going to fill out a form for us. We're going to get the information we need from you, and we'll jump on that call. And in 60 minutes, we'll sort through what repayment plan is right, because there's repay, pay, IBR, income, like there's all these different things, or refinancing. So to even give you kind of a story, we had a guy recently reach out, and he was like, I've been trying to refinance my loans. I've been unsuccessful. I don't know what's happening. Can you help? And so he came thinking that he needed refinancing, when in fact he was listening to another friend of his where refinancing was right for that friend, but it wasn't right for him. And I was able to explain over that 60 minutes that, hey, you should actually be on an income-driven repayment plan. Revised pay as you earn is going to be the most appropriate for you. Yeah. This is how much you need to save for your tax liability. And here are the reasons why. You would have been in a world of hurt if they actually allowed you to refinance, because you're not on the same path as your friend.
That's why Travis, I remember from our podcast, founded the whole company. You can make one error that feels right, pay off too much. I want to share with you, if you're going to buy a practice, make sure you're saving money and not paying too much to your loans, because you need liquidity. I learned that a few years ago in doing this. So I think you guys are truly, I call you guys like the superheroes, the Batman of this world, or Catwoman, whatever you want to say. Maybe they're always coming. So you guys are like true part of the superheroes, what you do. You can text loans at 215-543-6454. But if someone wanted to reach out to you directly, Lauren, how would they do that?
You can just hit us up at help@studentloanplanner.com, and you can find us at studentloanplanner.com as well.
Awesome. We got to have Travis send you out to Philly so you can have nachos with us sometime.
I am looking forward to it.
Thanks so much, Lauren. So see, on this show, my goal is to show you all the different toppings that go on our life plate and how you can be successful, reduce stress, eliminate challenges, live your best dentisting life. So our next guest is going to talk about what dentists love to do, investing. Now, before I set this up and we talk with the awesome Dr. James Martin, it's interesting. Dentists want to invest. I wonder if financial planners want to do some dentistry. No, they don't want to do any of that, James. But I've known it's a tale as old as time. Dentists like investing. So tell us about your Dentist Who Invest podcast, what you're doing, and what type of help you're trying to offer to this dentisting world.
First of all, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. Sure. On this show, rather. Podcast is on the tip of my tongue. It's just there, ready to pounce out at every minute, because that's what I seem to do for most of my time. But yeah, Dentists Who Invest, the group on Facebook. It is UK based, and it's so interesting. I was listening to Jay and Lauren speak just then, and the financial landscape in the US is just so different. Like, you guys have got so much more to worry about, I swear. Right. Like, we don't have to worry about these exorbitant, someone's on 200K as a year as a dentist over here, they're going to struggle to spend their money, never mind on student debts, just as what Lauren was saying. I think it was yourself that was saying a second ago. But yeah, Dentists Who Invest grew out of wanting to raise financial literacy in the dental world. There are a lot of dentists, not just in the UK, but across the world, who generate a lot of cash via their job. Sometimes that cash is sitting around not doing anything. A lot of dentists, especially in the UK, there's this miasma or undercurrent of being maybe slightly dissatisfied with their job. They've got a very overbearing regulator over here. I don't know if you know much about the EDC. And a lot of dentists want freedom, but they don't know how to go about getting it. And money is a tool effectively to buy our freedom. And that's the message of Dentists Who Invest. How to use this money to create freedom. It's not to have it. The point is not having it in itself, just so that it's got a, you've got a big number on a screen. It's how you can utilize that to, in the most effective way, to get your life back. That's what dentists
I love that. I think what you're doing is so important, because I grew up in the 1980s. My next guest, I think she's a little younger than me, but she might remember this. Our culture with food, they basically lied to us. They told us eating this processed junk was going to make you healthy, and it just didn't. And they've demystified all that, or they've unveiled that that's not a healthy way to eat. But I grew up that way. So now let's move this into investing. People can hurt themselves in investing by not listening to experts, by not having fundamentals. Let's break it down to the basics. Somebody joins your Facebook group. What's the Facebook group called again?
It's called Dentists Who Invest, community group for dentists who enjoy trading. But if you want to just keep it real simple and type in Dentists Who Invest on Facebook, that should come up for you.
Awesome. So let's go with the most fundamental thing. What are some of these myths that these dentists who come into the group think might be good for them to do and isn't? What do you guys talk about as some basic investment principles?
Brilliant. Well, I think that there is a massive misconception that trading is easier than it is, and that anybody can just dip their toe into beginning to trade, having not necessarily had the opportunity to read and learn about finance in the first instance. So I think removing that illusion, teaching people to walk before they attempt to run, is a big part of it. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like as well, there is a general misconception that it has to be something that's unbelievably complex. Actually, there's certain things that you can purchase that if you just have enough patience and an understanding of how they work, if you wait for long enough, eventually they will go up in value. The S&P 500, if I say the S&P 500, am I getting too technical with my lingo just then?
No, perfect.
No,
you're good.
Yeah. I am speaking to Americans, of course. So yeah, naturally the S&P 500 is more familiar to this audience than it might be to mine. So yes, S&P 500. If you buy the S&P 500, if you would have bought it any year since 1957, when it was inaugurated in its present form, then if you wait for 5 years, you would always have made money. Okay, always. Do you know when that 5-year period was when you didn't make money? It was within living memory. It was in our lifespan, both of our lifespan. 2008, the financial crisis. That was the worst it's ever been. Okay, if you would have bought the S&P 500 in 2008, you would have had to wait at the very, very peak. You would have had to wait 5 years until you made some profit. So what does that tell us? It tells us that there are certain things that we can buy as investors that, unless all history goes out the window tomorrow, which is very unlikely to do, they will continue to go up in value. And we have to bear that in mind against the backdrop of how cash and inflation works, in which our money is perpetually drained of its value. In a way, we've got nothing to lose by buying something like that, because our money is going to go down in value anyway because of inflation. And historically, this thing has only ever went up in value. Now, I've just cherry picked it and made it real simple with that example.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, James, because some of the things that dentists are not aware of, and I really believe this, when I have a lot of friends in business, and we were 22 years old, they went into the real world and I went into dental school, and I was in a dark basement playing with wax, and they were in the real world learning real world skills. And it made us very weird. And what happens is nobody teaches us some of these fundamental things. So maybe a dentist is making $200,000 a year, but like we just had Lauren on, maybe they're overpaying their student loans and not saving for retirement, not investing, and making the wrong investment food choices. So I think it's so key what you said, and you're basically just demystifying how really it sounds like simple strategies can have a big impact. Do I have that right?
No, preach. You pretty much nailed it. Can I just throw one more thing on top of that? Now, there's going to be this is going to sound totally ridiculous to lots of people who aren't dentists, but I think it's very possible as a dental professional to find yourself out of college and just all of a sudden find yourself earning the sum of money that you've only ever dreamt of, just 1 month, just like that. It's like a tap. It's like a faucet. It comes on. Okay. I have a friend. He went from earning £8,000 to 40 grand a month in the space of 3 months because he started doing veneers and advanced occlusal work. Okay. Now, that's the fact that happened is so, not many people can relate to that. Not many other professions can relate to that, but dentists can. Okay. Now, what I'm trying to get across there is that it's very easy to inadvertently find yourself with these sums of money that you've never seen. Right. And savers, people who work hard, are also simultaneously the people who lose out the most by not understanding about how money works and how investing works. And no matter how much you earn, you're always going to be a slave to your job until you think about how you can make that money work for you.
It's so key, and I appreciate you bringing in the sentiment and making it real for dentists, because it's not all good to go from in debt to making no money to making a lot of money is actually emotionally very disturbing, because there's a lot of studies about people who've won the lottery ruining their lives. Now, while that is a dramatic example, from going from having $0 a month to even making $15,000 a month, it's hard to handle that. And unless you have a real strategy, and that's why we share at Dental Nachos, you want to get resources that you look into, but also professional resources so that people can help you. Just like we make treatment plans for patients, we need treatment plans for our own finances. Before we wrap up, James, I want you now, I can't leave you without this. So cryptocurrency, I'm not going to ask you to explain it to me, still don't get it, but just share with us in a fun way, if you had 2 or 3 minutes to share how cryptocurrency is affecting investment strategies, could you give us just a broad picture look, or what people are talking about in your group about Bitcoin and Dogecoin and all of those things?
Thank you. Thank you for asking that question, because there are so many. For anybody who doesn't know my journey or pathway into investing, I almost did it the wrong way around, because I tried to do the sexy stuff, the racy stuff, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And it was through my obvious ineptness at attempting to do that, because I lost money from my initial first investment. It didn't go so well. Touchy subject, let's move on swiftly. But suffice to say, it didn't go so well. And then I looked back and I thought to myself, what am I doing wrong? That taught me, that encouraged me to begin thinking about money more broadly. And crypto and Bitcoin is actually a very natural evolution of traditional financial instruments. But that's what the part that people don't get. Now, there's a whole host of reasons. We'll keep it simple tonight. The main fundament, I think Bitcoin has this huge PR issue, okay? Yeah. Where people think that it's something that's inherently risky or something that is like borderline illegal. The true essence of why Bitcoin was created was as a reaction to money printing and inflation in cash. Awesome. And that is reflective in the sheer fact of how Bitcoin increases in scarcity with time. It becomes more rare. That is hardwired into the software and code of Bitcoin. So even if not another person in the whole world was to be interested or begin to purchase Bitcoin tomorrow, then the price of Bitcoin would still go up by the sheer fact that it becomes scarce, even if adoption stays the same. That's the key thing to get your head around. There can only ever be so much Bitcoin, and therefore, relative to dollars, it becomes more scarce, and adoption is almost out of the question. That is the most intriguing part about it, and that is the part that doesn't get mentioned enough.
I appreciate you sharing that. And to just kind of bring it back to your thing about the S&P 500, if you sold your S&P 500 mutual fund in 2008, you might have gotten hurt then. So what I want to share is, I kind of on the sidelines, I don't own any Bitcoin. I lose my password to my own computer, so I can't have a Bitcoin password. I mean, if you need to keep the password, whatever thing the password has to have, I can't be involved with. I lose my AirPods when they're in my ear. But I think it's just important for you to point out that when people think things are too easy, it becomes very risky. And, I think what you're doing, James, is making dentists more financially literate is so important. And it fits with everything we've talked about here today, because it's such a key component. And I have 2 daughters who are 7 and 3, and I try to talk to them about money. I think we should be talking more about money to everybody in our lives so that they can make good choices in it. In the US school system, we learn a lot about international relations that don't exist anymore, right? How the US and Russia interacted in the 1920s, but we don't teach our children how interest on a credit card works. So I think you're doing this for dentists. Really appreciate that. And before you go, can you share how people can listen to your podcast? I want to be a guest on that in the future. Tell us about your podcast.
I would love that, Paul. And can I just chuck one tiny thing on top of what you've just said? I think there is an illusion that it has to be boring when we talk about money. And by the way, if I can somehow strike up an interest in myself about money, there is hope for everyone. I promise. Okay. And now I've run this page, Dentists Who Invest. I promise there is hope for you, anybody who's listening, if you think it's boring from the outside looking in. But yes, to answer your question, Paul, for anyone who's interested, Dentists Who Invest on Facebook, feel free to look it up. And also the podcast, we talk about finance, everything finance related with a specific dentist spin. Feel free to look that up. It's on basically every single major podcast provider. All you have to do is type in Dentists Who Invest, and that should appear for you.
Awesome, James. Really appreciate being on. I'll be a guest in your podcast in the future. Thanks for sharing with us.
Can't wait, mate. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome, James. So we have one more guest that's very special and is going to talk about really what's fundamental to all of our lives, because we've talked about money, we've talked about material, we've talked about investing, because all of us, and I was actually at my dental office the other day and drove by my childhood home. The home that you grow up in, the home that you buy is such a big decision. So I'm so glad to have Megan Crowder, who is just an awesome person. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I wanted to start off with, Megan, what do you do in your daily life to help dentists and all humans make one of the biggest decisions they're ever going to make?
Sure. So I'm a residential realtor, so I get to talk about a lot of fun things, home
Yeah.
buying and decorations and all that kind of stuff. But what I specialize is working with dentists and physicians and helping them understand different loan options that are available for them to purchase their primary residence. And then I also work closely with financial advisors to make sure that we're staying on task. We're making sure that we're keeping the dentists in line with what their budgets are so they can
Yeah.
help, kind of maintain the goals of buying that practice and paying off that student loan debt. Buying a house is an important component. So I help people figure out when is the right time for that to happen. And then what are the different financial options for them when it comes time to buying the house.
Love that. I mean, my grandmother was right, Megan. I am very special. So one of the things I want to share about Nacho team, please connect Megan to our other awesome sponsor, Doc to Doc Lending, because they've created a product for dentists and doctors. But let's talk about this for a minute. Sometimes there's the feeling dentists get a lot of, it's negative, I'm in debt, it's tough to be a dentist. But with this loan thing, which I've heard about, but I need to learn more from you, what makes physicians and dentists special with home buying loans? What's the positive part about being a physician or dentist when that comes to getting your loan?
Sure. So there's essentially there's a couple professions which include dentists and physicians that get profiled from lenders. So there are specific lenders. There's a handful of them that will look at default rates on loans, and student loans are a big one, right? So the default rate for dentists carrying a lot of debt in their student loan that we just heard about, could be in the ballpark of like 250 to 600. I haven't had anybody that high, but the default rate is very small. So it's
Right.
a calculated risk by these lenders. And then what they do is they offer a portfolio loan, meaning they lend their own money. So therefore they have control over the different parameters on how it's being lent. So they create, their debt to income ratio, which is slightly different than a conventional lender. So your debt to income can be a little bit higher because they don't look at your student loan debt the same way that they're going to look at my student loan debt, right?
Gotcha.
That's one thing. You still have to have a good credit score. You can get this particular loan when you are in training. So like residency thing, or usually it's within 10 years of completing your training. And one of the really great things is you can do this particular loan with zero money down on a
Awesome.
30-year fixed, and meaning that your interest rate is going to be very competitive. I mean, I've seen them sub 3 on a regular basis. So it's not like you're paying some inflated interest rate. You're paying a competitive interest rate, and it can be fixed for 30 years. So the loans have changed. I mean, over the years since I've been doing this, it used to have to be an ARM. But now, like an adjustable rate mortgage.
Yeah.
But now you get a low interest rate, 30-year fixed. You can do it with a contract that you have in place. So let's say you just finished your residency and now you have a contract to become an associate. They can do that. They can qualify you based on that contract within, usually it's 60 days from your start date. They are not going to look at deferred student loan debt when they're calculating your debt to income ratio. And then if you are paying on your student loan debt, it's not deferred, they'll only incorporate a certain percent into your debt to income ratio.
That's so key. And I mean, this is where I want to highlight. This is a positive part about what we do. One of the things that I, as a dental practice broker, I will usually say, don't buy a house until you buy a practice for 2 reasons. One, once you buy a house, as you know, you become geographically inflexible, right?
Correct.
But two, the more big was that they would use their down payment towards a house, and then they wouldn't have it for the liquidity for a practice. But now it sounds like there's this magical opportunity to keep that liquidity yourself and put 0% down. So did I follow you right with that one, Megan? And then
correct.
And then the reason why I will temper my don't buy a house before a practice is if people do want to be in the Villanova, the Center City, the South Jersey area, and they know they're absolutely never going to move no matter what, whether they're an associate or a practice owner, it could make sense to purchase a home when you're ready. Tell us now, you already gave us a lot of great facts there, right? That was great facts. You work with a special dentist that I know very well to help her buy a home. And I know you're working with dentists and physicians. Give me some of the feelings when you're taking these dentists, and whether it's their spouses or themselves around, just tell us a little bit about the home buying process from a feeling-based perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things I love the most about the job, right? It's understanding what everybody's individual scenario is, and sometimes we're looking for that forever home, sometimes we're looking for an investment, but understanding what they're looking to accomplish with this purchase and then helping them find that solution, it feels fantastic, especially when you're finding the forever home, and people can see themselves raising a family
Yeah.
there, being involved in the community. All that is really spectacular. And I think if we can do that and then keep in line with financial goals, that's the home run.
And I think that's so key. Before we wrap, I want to also bring up this. I don't know you can't ask people how old they are, Megan, but watch, you don't ask people how old they are, but here's what you say. Megan, when did you graduate from college?
And then you can backtrack.
Yeah. What year did you graduate?
Graduated in 2002.
Oh, yeah. So you're just I was 1999. So what's interesting is our generation really values relationships and people helping you get stuff. And it's not as quaint or kind as thing, because that was the only way to get stuff, right? We didn't grow up with the ability to go on the MLS, or we didn't grow up with the ability to go on Amazon. So we need to have these relationships with people who connected us to stuff, right? So brokers that, I know that people can DIY a home sale, and I know they can look online. But if you were talking to anyone and saying, what value does a broker bring into the process for you? What are some of the things? Do you know about deals other people don't know about? Do you know about this house has been on the market and it looks good, but it's not? I'm just curious if you can inspire the next generation past us to not totally discard working with people and only have a relationship with your phone.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. So everybody obviously has access to Zillow and the Trillias and Redfins of the world. And I think those are great resources, but where where a good realtor, good broker is going to come into play is they're going to help guide you against houses that are not the right fit for you. So I think part of that is really getting a good understanding of what this particular client wants, right?
Yeah.
And then a lot of times as you're getting frustrated because you haven't been able to secure the house that you want, you might start thinking outside the box. But my goal is to kind of bring you back to where we had our original conversation and say, hey, your budget is this. You don't want to spend more than this much a month. This is how much money you've saved. These are your top priorities. So when we go into a house and you can kind of see them start to bend, and what they're looking for, it's kind of like, well, you can do that, however, these are your most important things. Does this check those boxes? So that's one thing. Second thing would be walking through a house. And I mean, I've been in, I don't know, probably like 1,000 houses and probably well over 100 home inspections. So I'm looking at a house with a different lens. So kind of using a basketball analogy, you can look at the court as a player, right? Like you're thinking about, what I can do to score the ball. Or you can look at the court as a referee or an official, right? Like they're looking at, are you stepping out of bounds? Are you traveling?
Yeah.
So when I'm going through the house, most of my clients are like, hey, I love this layout. I love this kitchen. It's so pretty. And I'm like, hey, there's water staining here. You need to think about budgeting for a new roof because this roof doesn't look great. That chimney looks like it needs to be pointed. So I'm going through and kind of picking out those things. I'm also like thinking through like, all right, well, let's say this isn't your forever house. Let's say you plan on being this house for, I don't know, 5, 7, 10 years, but you need an exit strategy. Well, maybe this house backs up to a busy street. Maybe it sits on a busy street. Maybe you have small bedrooms, so I kind of like to describe it as laying all the cards on the table, for someone, helping them think through ways and a perspective that they wouldn't be able to do on their own, and allowing them to make the best decision for themselves at this point in time. And then also kind of factoring in, what does that future look like? So what may work for you now?
Basically, I'll give you some insight or not. I love the basketball analogy because I want to be an NBA superstar, but I didn't make it. You played college basketball, so you made it further than I did. But you can say to dentist, I'm here to help you make the best treatment plan for your house, because we talk in that language. And sometimes our patients say, I want white teeth and this and that. And we say, yeah, but you got to think about this over here first, right? You have to think about, if you do 12 veneers and you still play pickup basketball every weekend, Megan, you're now going to put those veneers at risk. So we are the voice of reason for our patients. So I think that's awesome in doing that, because we need people like that. And all the people on the show today, when your ideas are kindly challenged, it either strengthens them, right? or it helps you think about it in a different way. And that's kind of what we want. That referee player analogy is perfect. So appreciate you sharing that. What territories do you cover, Megan, if someone's wanted the Nachoverse? You're a great key resource and sponsor. You're an awesome person. You're going to be sponsoring our networking event in November, which is awesome. But what areas how can people reach out to you to learn more about this process, and what areas make the most sense?
So all my contact information is at meganclotter.com. So I have all my information there. From a geographical perspective, so I go where my customers take me. So I'm not your traditional realtor, because I work with particular professions rather than a specific geographic area. So for me, I have an office in Society Hill in Philadelphia. I have an office in Collingswood, New Jersey, and I do about an hour radius from Philadelphia. So I hit all of the surrounding counties. Obviously, it has to make sense, but yeah, I do the Jersey surrounding counties and the Pennsylvania surrounding counties, about an hour radius from the city.
Just say an hour radius from Elvez, where we met on Christmas Eve dinner a few years ago. Traditional
so
Christmas Eve
fun.
dinner at Elvez. So love all the stuff you do. So glad we're going to do some stuff in person. Thanks so much for sharing us. If you want to reach out to Megan, you also can reach out to us at dentalnachos.com. Thanks so much, Megan.
Thanks, Paul.
Awesome, guys. Well, awesome show today. If you want to be a guest on Talking Nachos, just text Talking Nachos to 215-543-6454 or email us at salsa@dentalnachos.com. Together, the more we share and care, we can make this world better for all of us. Thanks, guys.